Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Morgan at Splendid.yoga. We're going to work on our shoulders today, and I'm going to guide you through some work with some therapy balls. So you can just grab a tennis ball. I'm going to use this ball. This is a yoga tune-up alpha ball. I sell these on my website. You can get them on Amazon too. Um, they're great. I love them. They're a little bigger than a softball, but really soft, and they're big enough that they can really get into some deep spots. Let's go find those spots. Okay, so we're gonna set up on the ground to start, and you're gonna be belly down. You're gonna place your ball of choice, something spherical, something that's not gonna break under your weight. Place it underneath your clavicle. So your clavicle is that bone that runs from the end of your shoulder all the way to your sternum, and then a bunch of muscles underneath there get really chronically contracted because of what you do with your body, because of what we all do, right? You're sitting, you're reaching forward to your computer, you're driving, you're riding a bike, you're reaching forward to pick up a baby, just constantly closing off that area. And the way we do that is by using the muscles called the pectorals. So they're just chronically contracted. And we want to loosen them up a bit. So you're going to place that ball underneath your clavicle and then lay down. Reach your right arm out to the right and shimmy your shoulder side to side. Just a little bit, right? You're not going to get a ton of movement here laying flat down on the floor. But you just want to, find some spots, find somewhere where you can land and really let that ball melt into you. So if this is just like screaming at you, this can be really intense, especially when you have your weight on it on the ground. You can do this against the wall. Just do this same shape up against the wall. Lean up against the wall, place that ball underneath your clavicle, and then roll side to side. All right, but if you're staying here with me here on the ground, then you've got your right arm reached out, and then cactus your arm, and then reach your arm forward like over your head, and bring your arm down like your elbow is going to come into your hips. Yeah, reach your arm up, and then lower your arm down. And then somewhere in there, like kind of nestling that ball deeper and deeper into your ribs. So if you find like a really sweet spot somewhere in there in that angle, then just let yourself melt down around that. Relax the arm down and just really melt. What do you have to do to relax? Breathe. All right, let's just try that one on the other side. So ease yourself off of that ball. You might give yourself a little wiggle in that shoulder and then just place it on the other side. So you're underneath your left clavicle now, and then roll it just until you find a spot, somewhere that feels extra juicy, bearable, right? Not like you're screaming right now. Something that feels good. And then cactus your arm and reach your arm over your head, and then bring your elbow down by your hips. And play with that a few times. Reach it up, lower it down. Yeah. And then when you find a spot, hold that spot. Just melt down on it. Over and over again. Melt. All right. Let's take that ball out from underneath you and roll onto your back. Go slow. Take your time here. Okay, so we're going to now take the ball and place it behind you somewhere. So somewhere in that shoulder area, all right? We're concentrating on shoulders right now. So I'm going to start on my right shoulder and I'm going to place it in between my scapula and the spine, kind of that sweet spot right where the trapezius is. You got a rhomboid underneath there. So it's usually pretty juicy for most of us. So go ahead and nestle it in there and bring your feet on the ground underneath your knees, kind of like bridge pose. And then you can use your feet to kind of roll back and forth here. You might need to lift your hips up a little. It might feel good to lift your hips up a lot to really get some weight pressing down onto that ball. This can be as deep as you want it to be. You're in control here. So let it feel good, guys. Let it feel good. Eventually, you're going to nestle into something that's like, oh, yeah, that's the one. So once you found that spot, you can rest your hips down. You can straighten your legs. Sometimes that's a bit too much of a stretch for the low back. So you might feel more comfortable keeping one or both legs bent. Then reach your right arm off to a T. Press it down into the ground. Press your fingernails down into the ground so your palm's facing up. And then press your shoulder down towards the ground, into the ball. Really press it down. Press everything down. Take an inhale. Exhale, relax, melt. All right, your right arm. Reach it over you like you're about to give yourself a big hug, a half of a hug. And inhale, open it up. And exhale, give yourself a big half hug. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, stretch it over. Inhale, open it. Then cactus your arm. And the same thing we did on your belly. You're going to reach your arm like overhead so your bicep comes towards your ear. And you bring your right elbow down towards your hip. Yeah, then inhale, reach it overhead. This should feel pretty good. And exhale, bring it in. A few more rounds, if it feels good. Yeah, you might need to kind of shift your weight around a little bit to keep that ball underneath you. This is a dynamic work surface. It's part of the challenge. It's part of the practice. Yeah, eventually you're going to find a spot where you can settle in, just like we did on the other side. So let your arm relax somewhere where it feels just fantastic. Now, depending on what's going on in your body, if you leave your arm kind of reaching overhead, you might get some nerve impingement. You might start to get some tinglies in your fingers. So if that happens, no big deal. You can bring your arm down closer to your hip or just roll off of the ball and rest on the ground. But if it feels good where you are, fresh blood flow coming through, nerves are communicating normally, just let yourself melt over and over again for about the next minute. Melt down. All right. Pick that ball out from underneath you and roll onto your right side, then onto your belly, and push back to a child's pose. And come up to a seat for hero's pose. You just sit on your heels. If the knees or the ankles aren't happy about that, just have a traditional seat, whatever's easy for you. Shimmy out your shoulders and really feel right shoulder versus left shoulder. Does one feel longer? Is there more energy moving around one? Just notice. Now reach your arms out wide to a T, both arms out. Take a big inhale. Exhale, give yourself a big hug with the right arm underneath the left. And then lift your elbows up and down here. It should feel pretty good. All right, then we'll work towards the eagle arm, so you'll press the back of your hands together. Or you can go for the double bind. Maybe there's space on this side. Reach your right arm around your left and touch your thumbs and index fingers together, but interlace them between each other. I'll show you what that looks like. Now lift your arms up and down, and this should feel pretty juicy. But do it with some resistance. So as you lift your elbows up, try to pull them down. And as you pull your elbows down, try to lift them up. It's kind of a brain game. All right, release them, shake them out, shake them out. All right, we've got one more shoulder. Let's take it on the left shoulder. Flip back onto your back. Find that ball. Let it roll away. Go get it. And place that ball somewhere in your shoulder, somewhere in your thoracic spine, between your vertebrae and the medial border of your scapula. So once you've got it back there, you can find a little bit of movement. You bring your feet underneath your knees, you lift your hips just a little or a lot if you really want that weight. And then you're rolling. Roll around, get in there, have fun with it, let it feel good. Find your spots. So many spots. All right, find like the spot. And reach your left arm out to a T with the palm facing the sky. Press the left arm down, all the fingernails, the wrist, press it all down. And press your shoulder down too, around that ball. And release that. Now give yourself that big half hug. Reach your left arm over towards your right, and then open it back up. And then bring it back over. And then open it back up. Now you might need to scooch around a bit to keep that ball underneath you. Stay on top of it. Stay on top of a spot. All right, land with your arm open out wide, and then cactus your arm and reach your arm over your ear, and then bring it down to your hip. And then reach it over your ear, and then bring it down to your hip. Should feel good. Just a few more times. And then land with it somewhere magnificent. Settle down. Relax down. Whatever you need to do with the legs, whatever you need to do with the face, whatever needs to happen with your breath, allow it to relax. In just about a minute. All right. Let's get that ball out from underneath you. Take your time. Roll onto your left side and onto your belly. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders. Push yourself back, child's pose, just for a moment. And push yourself up to a seated position, Virasana, hero's pose, or whatever you need. Reach your arms out wide and give yourself a big hug with your left arm underneath your right. And lift your elbows up and down. And this may feel like plenty. And if you want more, press the back of your hands together or wrap your thumb and index finger around each other. And then lift your elbows up and down from here. But with some resistance. So as you lift them up, imagine someone was pulling them down, or like you had a really heavy weight hanging from your arms. And then as you're lowering them down, imagine someone was pulling them up, or like there was a bungee cord connected to the ceiling that you were resisting. But just with your brain. A few more rounds. Use your breath. This should feel pretty hard. Let it go. Shake out your shoulders, shimmy them out. All right. You ready for your back? Get back there. Lay it on down. You don't need your ball anymore. Just let it roll away. Reach your arms out to a T and press your arms down. And then let them relax. And press them down and let them relax. And press them down and let them relax. And press them down and let them relax. And press them down. Hold it, hold it, hold it. And let it go. Oh, here's Savasana, friends. Oh, we hold so much in our shoulders. You do kind of everything with your shoulder. It's something you realize if you injure it and realize, oh, everything you can't do. And as a result, we get a lot of knots in there, or nadis, as they're called in the yogic world. It's places where energy gets stored and it wants to break free. Sometimes that feels like pain. Or it's a place where emotion gets stored. And then when you experience that emotion, your body's reminded, oh yeah, we have some of that in here. And sometimes that feels like pain. It happens a lot with stress. You feel stress when you have a lot to do, when you need to work hard. What do you use to work hard? Your shoulders. Whether you're working hard in front of a computer or building a house, you're using your shoulders. So the body remembers, oh, when we get stressed, our shoulders contract. And then your shoulders contract. But you don't need them to. You need them to relax so that when you do have actual work to do, you have that full range of motion. You have that full level of strength. And this is why you do this work, friends. This is why you take the time to take a break, so that you can be stronger when you go back to work. Stay strong, my friends. I'm rooting for you. Namaste.